Silly season bug is one that never truly gets squashed, does it? It might get stepped on, might get kind of taken out for a little bit, might go away for a minute, but it never truly goes away. And this time, the rumor mill has been sparked off by a tweet from Lee Spencer, where it was said, hearing Tyler Reddick's contract has been bought out from RCR Racing, and he will join 2311 Racing next year. An announcement expected this weekend at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. This shouldn't be surprising in too many ways. When Tyler Reddick had announced that he was going over to 2311 Racing, it took everyone in the sport by surprise, including Richard Childress, his current boss. And while Childress has been a pretty even-keeled guy for the most part during his NASCAR tenure as an owner of the last 50-plus years, this set him over the edge, and the relationship has been permanently ruined on a business and probably honestly personal level. And so this has to be a cloud just hanging over the team. When Tyler Reddick had won at the Indianapolis road course, Childress literally had brought up the problem of Reddick leaving the way he did. There was no way whatsoever that Childress and Reddick were going to have a peaceful final year together, and breaking up early is probably the best possible thing that they can do. It's good for Reddick in the sense that he can start anew with this new team at 2311. He doesn't have to sit there and waste a year of his career. He can just go straight over with the momentum he has built in this season and the season before and try and bring that to 2311, who at the moment has some pretty good momentum themselves. So this on Reddick's side is good. On RCR's side, it's also good. Why? Well, because it helps RCR start anew. RCR just brought in Kyle Busch to drive the 8 car that Reddick is in at the moment. And as much as people might want Reddick to stay a little longer just because they like him in a Chevy or whatnot, that really doesn't matter when you have a driver like Kyle Busch who is going to start a new era for RCR, who could start a new championship winning era for RCR. So having them start anew with him is good, as it would be a really bad way to start off when you have a teammate there who for a full year can't be in team meetings, can't help in any way, and basically is an anchor on both the emotional, mental, and performative ways of RCR. Now, this also helps 2311 as, like I said, Reddick doesn't have to lose a year, and on top of that, he can start gelling immediately with both Bubba Wallace, his current teammate, as well as the entirety of Toyota with JGR involved. This will help immensely when it comes to getting chemistry put together before the season instead of having to wait until the end of next year. It'll basically also help so that he doesn't get left behind with that team when it comes to the chemistry with the new changes to the next gen race car. There's a lot of things that Reddick would have lost out on had he stayed at RCR, and right now this might be the best both short and long-term move for him to do. Now, this does raise a lot of questions, and the big questions come at the current teammate of Bubba Wallace and probably the current driver of what Reddick will be in, the 45 car, and that is questions about Kurt Busch. Kurt Busch had a pretty good year so far before his injury at Pocono. He had won a race at Kansas, he had had plenty of top 10s, a couple top 5s, and he looked about the same as he had looked really in the last couple years he had at Ganassi. So it was disappointing to see him get that concussion at the Pocono Raceway back in the early summer. And since then, because of concussion-like symptoms, he has been out of the car for basically the entirety of the second half of the season. The longer it goes, with the fact that he is the oldest guy out there for the most part, has left a lot of people asking more and more and more and more serious questions about his longevity and if he ever would come back. And now the big question is, with this, does this mean Kurt Busch is retiring? He has no reason really to come back. He's won everything from championships, Daytona 500s, and tons of other races in between, so there's no reason for him to try and prove anything. And with his age being as it is, with a concussion, he is much, much more likely to get another concussion And is that something really that you want to risk at this point when you maybe will have another competitive year or two left in your career? If that, the concussion might have taken those away as well. So is he going to retire? Maybe. I honestly think it would be probable. But there's some other options. Maybe he goes trophy hunting, goes part-time. That is something that would be pretty fun, honestly, when it comes to being a fan of the sport, and it would be something as well that people outside the sport or longtime fans who maybe are getting back into it would draw interest from. If Kurt Busch comes back for crown jewels like the Daytona 500, Coke 600, as well as maybe the Southern 500. Maybe he comes back to tracks he's never won at because he wants to try and get that one last addition to his resume, winning on tracks that he might have not had success on before. Maybe he goes around to other racing series. A part-time Kurt Busch might honestly be a fun one, as pretty much all pressure is taken off of him. And then the least likely option, in my opinion, is Kurt Busch goes to a new team. Kurt Busch, for instance, could go to maybe a vacant ride at JGR if D18 is still there, and maybe Ty Gibbs just isn't ready yet, either with sponsorship or with maturity. That could be something maybe. Maybe he goes to a team that just needs a veteran driver to help them stay afloat for a year. Honestly, though, I don't see this happening. If you're asking me, Kurt Busch is not going to be in a race car in 2023 and probably going to be working instead in 2311 racing. Now, the last questions go to RCR, and it goes to how RCR is going to move forward. In the press conference when it came to Kyle Busch's announcement, Richard Childress had talked about maybe getting a third charter and a third team. And to be honest, I don't think he was completely bluffing or just trying to deflect all of the controversy away from the Kyle Busch announcement. I think this is probably something that was mulled over. And you got to question at this point, though, if it's going to happen. Tyler Reddick is still, at the moment, under contract with Richard Childress Racing. So it's not like this was completely out of the question, as they had 3 cup-level drivers. But at this point, it's looking like 2, Kyle Busch and Austin Dillon. Maybe they have that third team that would have been for Reddick if this didn't go through, for Austin Hill, or for maybe a Chevy driver that isn't signed yet, say a Ty Dillon. Maybe Ty Dillon gets a year at the team if he wants. But at the moment, with no lame duck, the addition of another team doesn't seem like the smartest business move, especially with the history of Richard Childress Racing. Whether it's 2 or 3, I really don't think RCR needs that third team. I think they're performing well with 2, so I would say moving forward, they're probably going to have 2 teams. Now with that, I want to pass it all on to you. Were you surprised by any way of Tyler Reddick moving over to 2311 a year early based on rumors? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're at it, leave a like on this video, share this video, and subscribe to my channel for more great NASCAR content. Thank you to all my channel members for your continued support, and until next time, have a good one.